Hi guys, the EU's three biggest member states have agreed a deal with Russia and China to set up special payments system to facilitate trade with Iran as global powers step up measures to protect a nuclear deal with Tehran after the US reimposed sanctions. In a joint statement on Tuesday, the foreign ministers of China, Russia, Germany, the UK and France agreed to assist and reassure economic operators pursuing legitimate business with Iran, including its oil exports. The five countries remain signatories to a 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which Donald Trump withdrew from earlier this year after calling it the worst deal ever. The coordinated move is the latest step by the five powers to protect the foundering nuclear deal by circumventing US sanctions. The White House will hit Iran with a second batch of measures targeting its oil exports and payments from its central bank next month. The EU's top diplomat said the financial tool, known as a special purpose vehicle, would allow for legitimate financial transfers between European and Iranian companies. She added technical teams from EU governments would work on how the tool would work in the coming weeks. The SPV, the special purpose vehicle, would allow European companies to trade with Iran in accordance with EU law and could be open to other partners in the world. Moscow heralded the agreement, but warned that Washington would seek to trample on the initiative. Everything that Mr. Mogherini has said is extremely positive, Vladimir Yakimov, director of the Department of Non-Proliferation and Arms Control at the Russian Foreign Ministry, told reporters. The question is whether this will work, because of course the US will continue to exert colossal pressure on the European Union, and with a strong desire can easily trample down any mechanism. Everything depends on how far the Americans want to go and how far our European colleagues will allow them to go. This is obviously a circumvention of the dollar, so we have another financial system coming into place. This is going to be using the euro, and the dollar is obviously going to be losing some of its power in that sense, especially with trade with Iran. So the sanctions on Iran aren't going to work if the EU, China, and Russia are going to be circumventing it with this special payment system, which means that they're going to need to confront Iran in another way, which is obviously being set up now with everything that's going on. We've seen the rhetoric at the UN, and we've seen the escalation of conflict between Russia and Israel, and I think it's all linked together. The Russian hold on one second. The Russian Kashuka 4 mobile electronic warfare system, which can neutralize spy satellites and ground airborne radars and damage enemy electronic warfare, landed in Syria on Tuesday, that was yesterday. It was unloaded at the Russian Khmeini air base near Latakia, one day after Russian Defense Minister General Sergei Shoigu pledged systems for jamming satellite navigation and the onboard radars and communication systems of combat aircraft attacking Syria, in punishment for Israel's alleged role in downing the Russian Il-20 spy plane. The Kashuka 4 is highly advanced, although not the most sophisticated electronic warfare system in the Russian arsenal, but it fits Shoigu's book. The system can jam communication systems, disable guided missiles and aircraft, and neutralize low Earth orbit spy satellites and radars at ranges of 150 to 300 kilometers, which covers northern and central Israel. The Kashuka 4 can also damage opposing electronic warfare. Israel's military has focused its response to Russia's hostile measures on the 8 S300 air defense batteries promised in the coming weeks. Little mention has been made by Israeli spokesman of the electronic warfare duel awaiting the IDF with Russia. Israel's military and air force know about the Kashuka 4 but have never met it in action. However, it is well known to the Americans. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is expected to ask Donald Trump when they meet at UN Center on Wednesday, today, to offer Vladimir Putin some incentive for removing the electronic warfare jamming threat. There is scarcely any chance of such a trade-off. Our sources believe that Putin will hold out for nothing less than the withdrawal of US troops from Syria, which President Trump will not agree. So there we have the electronic warfare, jamming the radars, jamming the systems. That's essentially, imposing a no-fly zone over a large section of Syria, and the range of this system can reach into Israel, which is obviously going to be a big problem, especially if Israel wishes to continue striking Iranian targets within Syria. That means they're going to have to take out this system in some way, which is what they're turning to the Americans for. So obviously America is going to be directly involved in combating Russian electronic warfare. and things can easily escalate from there. And obviously, if they're unable to strike Iranian targets in Syria due to Russia's heavy involvement there, they could always go after Iran directly, which is what the rhetoric from John Bolton and Donald Trump um, suggests. Now, I believed that the S300 system was already in Syria. Now, this report kind of confirms that. On Tuesday, a series of leaked photos were posted online showing that the S300 missile defense system may have already been delivered to Syria, despite the Russian Ministry of Defense previously suggesting a roughly 2-week timeline. As Al Masdar News reports, at least 3 photos were posted by Uralinform.ru showing the arrival of the Kushuka-4 electronic suppression of navigation and communication systems, touching down via Russian transport aircraft inside Syria on Monday night. According to the author of the Russian-based publication, the Russian military has already delivered the S-300 hardware to Syria via a Russian-made aircraft from Mostok Airport in the North Ostian region. Likely, the leaked photos are intentionally meant as to signal Israel, basically, that the system is being established quickly. This comes after Russia earlier this week effectively declared a no-fly zone over the Latakia province, which I suspected would come, which is the location of Russia's Hamini air base and the general area of last Tuesday's large-scale Israeli attack, which resulted in a friendly fire downing of a Russian plane by Syrian missiles amidst the confusion. Please excuse my pronunciations of some of these names. On Monday, Russian Senator and former Air Force Commander Viktor Bondarev stated that Russia has established a no-fly zone over Latakia after last week's Israeli attack. The establishment of a no-fly zone over the Russian military base in Latakia will prevent a repeat of the IL-20 aircraft tragedy. He further declared that it is necessary to announce that any unauthorized objects in the sky over Haminin Airport will definitely be eliminated. The Kushuka-4 electronic suppression system, shown in the below photos, being unloaded at the Haminin Air Base or military airport in Latakia province, is a key part of Russia's response to Israel and its allies, which was announced early on Monday. Russia's Ministry of Defense has promised that along with the S-300 anti-missile defense system, advanced electronic countermeasures would be installed in order to suppress satellite navigation, onboard radar systems, and communications of warplanes attacking targets on Syrian territory. So that's a clear signal to the United States and to Israel that they're not going to be kind of sitting back and allowing them to target Iranian targets in Syria anymore. And as I said, this is all coming as the rhetoric between Iran and the United States heats up. The potential for a false flag chemical attack blamed on Iran is all set up. Just very disturbing stuff going on. And then separately, this is kind of a side report. We've got this one about the Thames barrier. So they've published an image showing what central London would look like if the Thames barrier was to fail in any way, or waters were to overtop the Thames barrier. I just find it curious, at this time where we're talking about the potential for that happening in London, they suddenly publish a report showing a map of it. And obviously this is the River Thames flowing through central London. The only thing I can really make out from this vantage point is the O2 Arena, but obviously that would be Big Ben, Tower of London, Westminster Palace, all of them landmarks in central London basically be flooded over. And as I said, I just find it very curious that they would put this image up when I've got a watch date set for September 30th to October the 2nd, looking at associated with London, associated with the West Coast, associated with the East Coast. So there's a few things that are concerning me. So this report goes on to say the image from the Environment Agency contrasts the current path of the Thames and how large parts of the capital would be deluged if heavy flooding meant the river burst its banks. London is protected by the second largest movable flood barrier in the world, which was closed for its annual test on Sunday, the 23rd. The 10 gates, 4 of which are wide as Tower Bridge's main span, cover 520 metres and protect 48 square miles of central London from tidal flooding. The 4 main gates weigh more than 3,000 tonnes each, and you can see some of the images there. Work started on the barrier in 1974 by Charles Draper. It was largely built by 1982 near Woolwich and designed to protect from tidal surges at a cost of around 534 million. Now that's key, I think, tidal surges but not tsunamis. The Queen officially opened it in May 1984. That would be 30, hold on one second, get the maths right, 34 years ago, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. During periods of heavy rain, there is a danger during high tide that the extra water in the Thames will be pushed back upriver by the sea, causing flooding in the capital. The gates normally lie flat on the floor of the Thames, but can be rotated upwards until they block the river. It takes up to 90 minutes to fully close, starting with the outer gates, which creates a steel wall preventing water from flowing upstream. The gates can also be set to an underspill position, where a controlled amount of water is allowed to pass under the gate. The danger of widespread flooding is very real and not just a property, which, if it were to occur, would no doubt run into billions of pounds worth of damage. In 1928, 14 people were drowned when the Thames overflowed between the city and Southwark in the east, and Putney and Hammersmith in the west. So clearly, the potential for flooding is real, as they say, and as Londoners, we all know that, but we don't consider the potential of flooding coming from a tsunami type event linked to maybe underwater nuclear explosions, or purposefully erupted volcanoes. So, as I said, I just thought it was very curious that this report would come out and show what central London would look like if it was flooded. This is in the southeast of England, which, as I said from the iPad Go video, the part of the coin that Obama's covering with his foot would be the southeast of England, where London would be. I think the 17 is connected to the amount of water that that part is under, and that could occur in the next 7 days, 5 to 7 days. So with all that said, you guys, so keep an eye on how this Russian situation is developing with everything going on there. Keeping an eye on the sun, seeing if anything eclipse-like happens there, the volcanoes, the tsunamis, and everything else in between. So with that said, you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.